For over 1,000 years, it stood as a shining beacon of faith, culture, and defiance, a city that bridged continents and outlived empires. But in the spring of 1453, the impossible happened. The city of Constantine, the last bastion of Rome, fell. This is the story of the fall of Constantinople. The day the medieval world ended and the modern age began. The Eternal City. For centuries, Constantinople was the jewel of the East. Founded by Emperor Constantine in 330 AD, it became the capital of the Byzantine Empire, a fortress of Christianity, knowledge, and wealth. Surrounded by colossal walls and guarded by the sea, it was said no army could breach it. Kings, crusaders, and caliphs had tried, all had failed. But by the 15th century, the once mighty empire had crumbled. What was left was a ghost of its former self, a single city surrounded by enemies. Inside its walls lived perhaps 50,000 souls, priests, scholars, soldiers, and the faithful, all clinging to the last light of Rome. The Sultan's dream. Across the Bosphorus, a new power was rising, the Ottoman Empire. At its head stood a 21-year-old sultan, named II. Brilliant, ambitious, and ruthless, Mehmed dreamed of achieving what no ruler before him had: to conquer Constantinople and bring the Roman world to its knees. He summoned a Hungarian engineer, Orban, to build a weapon never seen before, a cannon so massive it could hurl stone balls weighing over half a ton. This was the Basilica, the superweapon of its age. Mehmed's army, over 80,000 strong, gathered outside the Theodosian walls. Facing them, inside the city, were barely 7,000 defenders, led by Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos. 2 men, 2 worlds. One city that both claimed as destiny. The siege begins. On April 6, 1453, the earth trembled. The first cannon roared, and the siege began. Day after day, the Ottoman guns thundered, shaking the ancient walls. Stone shattered, towers crumbled, but the defenders repaired them through the night, using anything they could find: rubble, wood, even furniture. Inside, the people prayed for a miracle. They believed the Virgin Mary would protect her city, as she had for centuries. But outside, Mehmed's engineers advanced, building trenches, towers, and bridges of siegecraft that tightened the noose around Constantinople. The Golden Horn. To the north, the great harbor, the Golden Horn, was sealed by an iron chain stretching across the water. No ship could pass. But Mehmed had no intention of waiting. In one of the most daring military feats in history, he ordered his men to haul his ships over land. Through forests and over hills, Ottoman ships were dragged across land and lowered into the Golden Horn behind the chain. The defenders woke to find enemy ships inside their harbor. It was a turning point. Constantinople was surrounded by land and by sea. The emperor's stand. Inside the walls, Emperor Constantine XI, the last Roman emperor, refused to surrender. He knew the odds. He knew the prophecy that one day a great city would fall. Yet he stood firm. He rallied his men, shoulder to shoulder, Greeks, Italians, mercenaries, united by faith and desperation. Constantine XI, voice dramatization. To those who fight bravely, I say this: today we stand not only for a city, but for our faith, our families, and our souls. Let us die as Romans. The defenders fought like lions, repelling wave after wave of assaults. For 47 days, they held. But the walls were weakening, and so was hope. The final assault. On the night of May 28th, the Sultan called for prayer. Tens of thousands of voices echoed through the Ottoman camps. He promised them victory or paradise. Inside the city, the people gathered one last time in Hagia Sophia, praying, confessing, weeping together. By dawn, all would be decided. Before sunrise, the attack began. The walls shook, smoke filled the air. Wave after wave crashed against the city. The first lines fell, then the second, and in the chaos, a small postern gate was left open. Ottoman soldiers poured in. The defense collapsed. Constantine XI threw off his imperial regalia and charged into the fray. He was never seen again. The last emperor of Rome died with his city. The fall. By mid-morning, the Ottoman flag rose over the walls. The city that had stood for over 1,000 years, the Second Rome, was no more. Maimed rode through the gates and into Hagia Sophia. He gazed at the fallen church, whispered a prayer, and ordered it to be turned into a mosque. The Sultan was now Kaisar-i Rum, the new Caesar of Rome. The Middle Ages had ended, and a new empire was born. The legacy. The fall of Constantinople shook the world. To the east, it marked the rise of the Ottoman Empire, one that would dominate for centuries. To the west, it sent scholars fleeing to Italy, carrying with them ancient manuscripts that helped ignite the Renaissance. From the ashes of the Byzantine Empire, the modern world emerged. The city still stands, not as Constantinople, but as Istanbul, where east meets west, and past meets present. Empires rise and empires fall. But Constantinople, in its glory, its tragedy, and its legacy, remains eternal.